Hey folks, Mark Levin here. Now, before we dive in today's episode, I want to talk about something truly valuable, protecting your financial future with gold. It's called diversification. Now, for that, I only trust Advantage Gold. They're the real deal with 5-star service and a sterling reputation. So give them a call today. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000. Tell them Mark Levin sent you. Trust me, you'll thank yourself in the future. Now let's get to the show. Results may vary. Consult with your financial professional.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Welcome, it is Ben Ferguson filling in for Mark. He had surgery yesterday, and I'm excited to report to you it was successful. Now, he's recovering today, and hopefully he is going to be back with you tomorrow. I'm going to be holding things down for the next 3 hours. Can we just all take a moment, smile and grin, and make all the inappropriate jokes we've all been thinking in our heads right now, and just root for the good guys? That Israel may have pulled off the ballsiest pager attack on more than 3,000 Hezbollah terrorists all at once. Like, can we just enjoy this moment? Now, if you haven't heard about this story, I want to give you the details on it because it's just truly amazing. And I am like, this, like, good on you. Like, this is just incredible. This stunning simultaneous attack, literally we're now finding out, on thousands of Hezbollah terrorists by detonating their pagers, has all the hallmarks of a highly complex covert operation. And if someone doesn't make a movie out of this, I'm going to be furious. And I don't want it to be like 40 years from now. Like, I want this coming summer of 2025, okay? Like just start it now. Let's go. This is the kind that I argue only Israel's Mossad would have the means, the motives, and the cojones to pull it off. Let's also start with that. And I also, as I tell you this story, I just want you to think real quick about if this idea was given to a Kamala Harris while she's in the White House. Do you really think that Kamala Harris would ever approve something this bad A? The answer is obviously no. All right. So but I want you to think about somebody coming into Israel's security meeting and be like, hey, I got an idea. And they're like, all right, what's your idea? They're like, hey, I want to put high explosives next to the lithium ion batteries inside of pagers that are going to be going to terrorists. If we can just infiltrate it, get the shipment figured out, we could pull this off. Like, it seems unbelievable. And yet, apparently, that is exactly what happened. Now, this simultaneous attack that happened by detonating all their pagers all at the same time. More than 3,000 people were injured. 9 others, including only 1 child, were killed Tuesday in Lebanon and Syria. Now, of course, the UN, the left, all these crazies out there that hate, Israel and the Jews and want to wipe them into the sea, they're going to bring up the child. Now, I hate it when innocent people die, but that's the reality of war, number one. Number two, if you're mad at anybody, you should be mad at the terrorists for putting their child in harm's way for being a terrorist. You should be angry at the terrorists who went out there and did what happened to the people on that horrific attack on October the 7th. Like, that's who you should be mad at. You shouldn't be mad at Israel for this. And the fact they were able to pull this off is just unreal. Now, some of these people that were killed, there was a lot that were seriously injured. And the overwhelming vast majority of the victims are, yes, military-age men. The simultaneous dramatic explosions were shared in viral videos that spread online very quickly. And then, of course, everybody's like, who did it? How did it happen? What actually happened here? This is just an amazing story because what you had was someone, and again, there's several theories here, but I think we're on to the right track here, is that the perpetrators tampered with the shipment either en route to its destination, to the terrorists, or by an Israeli sympathizer that was hiding among Hezbollah's ranks due to the devices coming from the same source. And there was a lot of devices. An unnamed insider told Sky News Arabia that Mossad intercepted Hezbollah's communication devices before they were handed over to the terrorist organization. And they slipped in the highly powerful explosive bomb-making material, PETN. It's a plastic explosive commonly used for military and demolition purposes, but it packs a punch. And if you don't believe me, there's 3,000 terrorists you can ask today, and they'll tell you, yeah, it works. Mossad placed the PETN explosives on the batteries, so they didn't have a lot of room when they were taking apart, obviously, these pagers, so they had to be efficient. And if they could have put more explosives in there, they probably would have done it, right? And how it worked is they detonated by increasing the temperature of the batteries. So that's how all of this went down. We also are being told that Hezbollah is freaking out right now because not only were they able to penetrate their supply chain, but it seems that the penetration of the supply chain was done maybe with some insiders within their own ranks. Now, this remote detonation also is kind of like a middle finger to these guys, because this is exactly what the insurgents, these terrorists, did in Iraq and Afghanistan, right? They basically modified a cell phone into an explosive device where they actually put it in an energetic materials like C4 or something like that, and they would literally place them along the side of the roads, and when they saw a U.S. military vehicle going by, they would call the phone and it would blow up. Well, this was, in essence, what they did. Now, you may ask yourself, okay, why were these guys using pagers in the first place? So I talked to a lot of foreign intelligence officials over the last 24 hours. And after one of the lead members of Hezbollah was killed by Israel, they were like, all right, they were able to track him, they believe, by his cell phone. Now, they have set up a cell phone network, but they're like, they've clearly figured that out, so we need to stop doing it. So all these guys, Hezbollah guys, got rid of their phones. And that's when they implemented the pagers, because they're like, all right, well, they can't really track a pager like you can track a phone. It's very different. And that's true. And so they're like, all right, no more cell phones. Like, we're not doing that anymore. We're going to page you. You'll get your orders through pagers, and we'll set up our own paging network. And that's what they did. So they thought that this was going to be like the perfect way to talk and communicate and get around everything. It was, until it wasn't, because when they decided to send the code, when they decided to act on this plan, and just to put it in perspective so you understand, like, there's even somebody like, oh, well, maybe all these pagers were like messed up at the same time. You're an idiot, all right? The odds of a single lithium-ion battery spontaneously exploding is roughly 1 out of every 1 to 10 million, all right? So not only would this defy physics and the probability to have them all go off at once, this is clearly a attack on the terrorists. And this was somebody that knew what was going on, grabbed these devices, put this bomb-making material in there, and sent the signal, bam. This is just truly incredible. And I got to say, congratulations. Like, this is maybe one of the coolest moments I have ever seen. Now, when this originally happened, I want to play for you this Fox report, because this report just makes me smile. Because I want you to imagine, and by the way, there was some terrible guy, there was some terrible dude that had a really bad day yesterday that, like, in Lebanon, like, accidentally had, like, boiled water spilled on him. And he goes in the hospital. He's not a terrorist. Like, Mr. Producer, can you imagine if, like, yesterday is the day you have, like, a groin injury and you go in, you're like, I'm not a terrorist. I'm not a terrorist. Like, I promise. I just need some help. Everyone's like, yeah, sure, whatever. Like, you're a terrorist. You got the same type injury all these other 3,000 terrorists have right now. He's like, no, it was the water. Like, I feel bad only for that guy. But there's also a second part of this that I think is brilliant. You may not have been able to kill all the terrorists, but because of all the video online and because of how Mossad works, I'm sure they had cameras set up around all the hospitals. So I'm sure they were able, or inside the hospitals. And I'm sure they're able to now know exactly who the terrorists are based on who has the injuries and who's in the hospital, because they all rushed from the hospital. So now they've got a hit list of all the terrorists, 3,000 long, that they may not have ever had before. That's the other brilliant part of this plan. You now know the faces of your enemy. And not only that, but you also know that the ambassador to Lebanon from Iran also was either next to a pager or had his own pager from the terrorist organization, and he got injured as well. That is amazing on its face. Listen to this from Fox.
So at 10:30 here in New York, there is a fascinating story developing right now in the Middle East, specifically in the country of Lebanon. There are numerous reports moments ago that claim hundreds of Hezbollah members have been seriously injured after the pagers they were using to communicate exploded. Mike Tobin's got more from Tel Aviv to try and tie this together. What do you got now, Mike? Hello.
Well, this is the kind of thing, Bill, that Israel will never confirm, certainly not in the early stages of it. But it's this remarkable development out of Lebanon where as many as 1,000 Hezbollah fighters have suddenly been injured rather seriously. When what we've seen through some of the security video that's coming out so far, the pagers that they were wearing suddenly play an audio message and then explode. Resulting in serious injury. And we're talking again, Reuters news agency is saying that as many as 1,000 people were injured. So it creates this scene where you've got all of the ambulances scrambling all over Beirut and places south of Beirut to try to deal with the overwhelming number of injured that they have right now. These pagers, apparently, according to 3 different security sources who were speaking to the Reuters news agency, were the latest wave of pagers that these Hezbollah operatives were getting, with the belief that this was secure communication, that Israel couldn't tap into whatever they were saying and give up some information. So they were carrying these pagers, apparently, and something came out where you heard this audio signal came out and all of the pagers detonated all at once, which is really a remarkable development, which would minimize collateral damage. It doesn't mean that there is no collateral damage. We're hearing some reports that the Iranian ambassador to Lebanon, an individual named Mojtaba Amani, was among the injured. So you have a very chaotic and dramatic development in Lebanon right now with as many as 1,000 Hezbollah fighters injured, Bill.
So thank you, Mike, for that. Just stand by 1 second. Dana, this is really an intriguing story.
I wanted to ask Mike a question, if you're still there, Mike. Was the ambassador holding one of these pages? Was it on his person?
I don't have that information, but as it stands to reason, you could be standing near someone who had one of these small explosions, presumably on their waist, and be injured by it as well.
And
but
so
I don't have confirmation
what's interesting
on that,
is this connection, right, between Iran and Hezbollah.
Well, exactly. I mean, Hezbollah is the forward deployed army for Iran. It has always been supported by Iran. So presumably they would have contact with each other, whoever the operative is.
And there's a lot of video coming out on social media right now. We're going to be judicious in how we air that because some of it is graphic.
Yep.
So let me just say, this is just, not only is it amazing that now you have all the faces, and I don't think the terrorists were thinking about this. But when you look at this video, I'm sure Mossad had videos out there, people out there that just look like they're bystanders at these hospital entrances. And they collected, I bet you 99% of every injured person's face. They now know who the enemy is and their faces. And I'm sure they didn't even think about this. And that's why this attack is just so brilliant. I say for the good guys, thank goodness there was a victory here. Because now it's all right, we know who you are. Game on. And not only that, just the connections, the direct connections to Iran. This is no longer a proxy war issue. Okay, this is, again, no longer proxy war. This is legit, Iran's in the fight, and it's not 1 degree of separation anymore. Otherwise, your ambassador wouldn't have the pager. 1-877-381-3811. 1-877-381-3811. Ben Ferguson, filling in for Mark Levin. He had surgery yesterday. He is recovering. He will be back, hopefully, with you mañana. And make sure you send him a note at Mark Levin on X. Send him a note. Mark Levin Show. That's right. At Mark Levin Show on X. Send him a note. Ben Ferguson with you the rest of the afternoon. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
The cracks in our economy are widening by the day. We've got a labor market that's cooling faster than expected. Unemployment jumped to the highest since the end of 2021. The market could be in free fall any day as investors panic over a potential recession. Now, some bank stocks are getting hammered as fears of a downturn grow. Even the Fed is talking about rate cuts to prop things up. In uncertain times like these, you need a solid plan for your wealth. That's where gold comes in. It's been the ultimate safe haven for as long as we've used money. And when it comes to gold, I trust Advantage Gold. They're a top-rated American gold company and can help you protect your hard-earned money. Call Advantage Gold now at 800-900-8000 for a free gold investment kit and to see if you qualify for $1,000 in free silver. Don't wait. Call 800-900-8000 today. That's 800-900-8000. Tell them Mark Levin sent you. That's 800-900-8000. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional.
All right, welcome back. It is the Mark Levin Show. Ben Ferguson filling in for Mark. He had surgery yesterday. He is recovering. The surgery went well. I want to let you know that, and he will be back with you more than likely manana. So I'll be holding down the fort with you for the rest of the evening. If you just joined us, we're talking about this incredible news. I mean, it really is. It's just, it is incredible, this attack by Israel Mossad, and it's just what they were able to do with these pagers. Enjoy the moment. Because this is a moment worth enjoying. Like, the good guys won one in a serious way. And I promise you right now, what they are so concerned about now with Hezbollah and also Iran is what the response is going to be with the intel that they now received. And I want you to think about the intel that was received. You know who all the terrorists are that you didn't know before in the network, because everyone that was semi-important had one of these pagers. You know who they are. You know their identities. I also wouldn't be surprised if Israel figured out in the hospital how to get their charts and records, their names, right? Because you're going to the hospital and you've been blown up. You're probably not going to give a fake name. Like, you'd also have their addresses, maybe? Like, I mean, this is, you'd see their family and friends that come with them. Like, imagine if this happened after 9/11 with Al-Qaeda. And 3,000 Al-Qaeda dudes get blown up, and we've got the video, and people maybe inside the hospitals that are feeding us the information. All of a sudden, we know the entire Al-Qaeda network. What would that be worth? That is just what Israel just got their hands on. That is amazing. Like, that is just such a genuine win and gift for the good guys. And so that is part one of this, and how amazing of a victory this was. But then part two is the connection, direct connection now to Iran. If the Iranian ambassador had the pager on him or was sitting right next to somebody who did, either way, that dude now it's no longer a proxy war. It's a direct war. You have probable cause now to go after directly in Iran. Like, whatever Israel wants to do now, they are justified in, I think, wanting to do it however they decide to do it. That is also another aspect of this. And then the third thing is, if you are a terrorist now, and this is how easy they were able to get to you, which I don't think it's easy. I think it's a miracle that this worked. But can you imagine how paranoid you'd be now with communications? You can't use cell phones because they can track them. The pagers, you'd be paranoid as all get out. I mean, I'm sure they're going to take chances, right? Like, I'm sure some of these guys will take some chances. There's no doubt about that. And they're going to keep communicating. But like right now, you're in disarray because every terrorist has been partially blown up. This is one of the biggest victories of outing and knowing who your enemy is. All with a text to a pager. God bless Israel and Mossad. Like, you guys are bad A's. Well done. More coming up.
This is Mark Levin with an urgent message. We are living in grave and dark economic times that are going to get worse. We just saw an abysmal jobs report while unemployment shot up to the highest level since the end of 2021. Meanwhile, the stock market looks like a gamble. Many banks are getting crushed as recession fears mount. The S&P Banks Index fell 2.4% in a single day. That's a lot. Regional banks fell nearly 3%. That's even more. These are bad signs. Even the Fed is talking about rate cuts. You need to protect your wealth. That's where diversification and gold comes in. It's been a bedrock of wealth preservation for centuries. And the best company I know of is Advantage Gold. Their experts can help you protect your savings from economic chaos. Call now, 800-900-8000 for a free gold investment kit and see if you qualify for $1,000 in free silver. That's 800-900-8000. Don't wait. Call now. Tell them Mark Levin sent you. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional.
The new American Revolution starts here. The Mark Levin Show. Call in at 877-381-3811.
Welcome back. It is the Mark Levin Show. It is really nice to have you with us. And if you just joined us, we were giving you an update on what happened with the pagers that blew up. So part one of this story coming out of Hezbollah having a really bad 2 days is day one was bad enough when 3,000 of you got blown up by pagers. All right, that's part one. Part two now is even better, folks. Sit back, relax, and enjoy this part of the story. All right. So apparently, there was not just one part of this attack by the masterminds behind it in Israel. Mossad is who we assume. But they waited until the Hezbollah people were at funerals and going about their day after they'd blown up a bunch of them yesterday, and then they blew them up again today. This is incredible. How do they do it? They blew up their walkie-talkies, which Hezbollah had switched to after the pagers exploded. I'm not joking. I'm going to read you this headline now from NBC News, because rarely do I get to read an NBC News article and just smile. A wave of deadly walkie-talkie explosions are sweeping Lebanon the day after widespread pager attack injured more than 3,000 terrorists. They didn't use the word terrorist, but I did. Lebanon's public health ministry reported 20 killed and another 450 minimum injured in the new blast. One day after the pager explosion killed 12 people and injured more than 2,700 others. The second wave of device explosions hit Lebanon Wednesday, killing 20, injuring 450 others, and igniting blazes across the country a day after hundreds of pagers belonging to Hezbollah members detonated in an unprecedented attack on the militant group. We call them terrorists, NBC, but whatever. Lebanon's Red Cross said it deployed 30 ambulances across southern Lebanon and the Bekaa Valley in response to the walkie-talkie explosions. Meanwhile, the country's civil defense force said teams worked to put out the fires that exploded inside homes, cars, and shops that were ignited by the blast. Now, these blasts seem to be bigger than the pagers because there was more room to put in explosives and walkie-talkies, is what I'm guessing here. A Hezbollah-affiliated news agency reported that the wireless devices had exploded in people's hands. That's what you call having a bad day, folks. The Lebanese Ministry of Communications identified the exploding devices as ICOM V82s, a type of handheld transceiver, adding that they were not purchased through the official distributor and were not licensed by the ministry. ICOM did not immediately return a request for comment to NBC News, but a sales manager for ICOM America told the Associated Press it appears that explosive devices were knockoffs. I guess what ICOM's saying is, hey, we don't normally put explosives in our radios, okay? ICOM's website lists the V82 as one of its most frequently counterfeited products and states it has been discontinued. Pay special attention, it says, to counterfeit ICV-80s, 718 currently produced model, and ICV82 discontinued model, the website said. Copies of these models are floating in the market. The Associated Press reported that its journalists were in Beirut at a funeral for 4 people killed by exploding pagers Tuesday when they heard multiple explosions at the site where all the terrorists had gathered to bury their terrorist friends. Ambulances arrived at the scene, the AP journalist said. On Tuesday, exploding pagers belonging to Hezbollah members killed at least 12 people and injured 3,000. 2 U.S. officials said Israel was behind the attack targeting Hezbollah, the Iranian-backed militia, which the ambassador also apparently had a pager yesterday, and he got partially blown up as well. A political party, by the way, that the United States considers a terrorist organization. But don't worry. I promise you Kamala Harris is not going to do a damn thing to stop Iran. So they're going to keep doing whatever the hell they want to. All right. Just mark my word on that. You may have sanctions on them, but if you're not enforcing them, does it really matter? Right. The militant group and Lebanese officials also pinned blame on Israel, which has not taken, quote, direct responsibility for these attacks. So the walkie-talkies and now the pagers. Now, this is the part that makes me laugh about the news I'm reading you from NBC News. Quote, it was unclear why Israel carried out the attack when it did and whether it was an opportunistic operation or something more strategic that would be followed by other actions, the officials said. Do you really think they were going to tell you, NBC News? Like, come on. Like, really? I'm just telling you, it's like marking. This is like having a GPS tracker on every terrorist, right? You blow them up, bam. You now know where they are. You know where they live. You know who they are. This is going to be like open season, like opening day of deer season. Like it's going to be let's go. Israel's defense minister said Wednesday that he believed the country was in a new phase in the war, you think? The center of gravity is moving north, meaning that we are allocating forces, resources, energy for the northern arena, adding that they must allow residents to return home. Lebanon's public health minister said the 12 people that were killed in Tuesday's attack, including an 8-year-old girl and an 11-year-old boy, and then there was 2,700 others that were injured with an estimated 10% in critical condition. Not bad for a covert operation, if you ask me. The Lebanese prime minister said he was visiting the public health ministry's emergency operations center when news broke about the walkie-talkie explosion 2.0, right? He told reporters that he instructed the country's foreign minister to call for a United Nations Security Council meeting to address the matter. Like Israel's going to give a crap about that. And by the way, they shouldn't. Quote, what happened is regrettable. It is a collective crime that defies humanity and human rights. So blowing up terrorists apparently is like frowned upon in Lebanon. Got it. Good to know. He also said targeting defenseless people in their homes. They're terrorists, you tool. And then he said the Lebanese government officials have repeatedly said they do not want the country to be dragged into a war. Then don't have all these terrorists walking around, you tool. But stop short of condemning Hezbollah's attacks on Israel. Why? Because in Lebanon, they have no problem supporting the terrorists. Now, here's the best part about the UN. And I said this on my podcast yesterday. I said, mark my word, the Security Council is going to get together. The UN's going to come out and somehow denounce or condemn these acts of violence, right? Like they won't condemn what happened to the Jewish people and the horrific attacks on them or the fact that they still have hostages basically a year after the attack. No. They won't condemn that. But the Security Council is expected to meet Friday on the pager attacks and now the walkie-talkie attacks. And they're going to talk about it and then have a statement to the world. A spokesman for the UN Security Council said he was deeply alarmed by the device explosions in Lebanon. So you're alarmed that terrorists got blown up? That's why I hate the UN. Screw you guys. And urged restraint from, quote, both parties. Here's something, by the way, I actually do believe once from NBC News. I actually believe the statement I'm about to read for you is accurate. The U.S. was not involved in Wednesday's incident, John Kirby said. The White House National Security Communications Advisor. He declined to answer questions about Israel's role on whether the U.S. deemed detonating wireless devices an acceptable form of warfare. Kirby said the U.S. believes the best way to prevent opening a war from front with Lebanon is through diplomacy. By the way, I totally believe him. There is no chance in hell Joe Biden or Kamala Harris would ever have the cojones to actually blow up terrorists using pagers or walkie-talkies. So I actually, for once, believe the White House when they tell me that we weren't involved, because once you're a wuss, you're basically always a wuss. And once you're wusses like they are, you're basically always wusses. So I have no reason to believe they're lying to me. Like, I completely expect that to be an accurate statement that America was not involved. Because when you have weak leaders, this is what you get. 1-877-381-3811. 1-877-381-3811. Let's get to some of your phone calls in here. Let me go to Ethan in Colorado. Welcome. You're on the Mark Levin Show. Ben Ferguson filling in. Hi.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Ben. First off, I want to say great job filling in for Mark. Every time I hear you, I know that I'm going to hear something funny and informative. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Really quick, I just wanted to say, these terrorists are going to be pretty fortunate, because here pretty soon there are going to be some leftist doctors that specialize in unnatural enhancements that these individuals are going to need.
All right. So you're going to laugh, Ethan. Yeah. I do a podcast with Senator Ted Cruz 3 days a week, and we were doing the pod last night, and we're on like text message threads, and there's several of them that we're talking. And the jokes that you're making were the exact jokes that we were all making. And so I was like, how does the terrorist mathematician, right, and the terrorist analysts for Hezbollah, how do they do their math on if you lost your manhood from a pager or a walkie-talkie today and you were being groomed to be a suicide bomber? If you lose your junk, like, what is the likelihood, right? Like, what's the likelihood you're going to maybe not follow through now, because do the virgins do you any good? I'm just saying it's a fair question to ask if you're an analyst in a terrorist organization.
Well, you probably use the guy next to you. Anyways, so really quick, I am going to say we need to be kind of careful now, because I'm a little worried that Iran's going to see this as direct action against them.
How? You're saying because of their ambassador?
Yeah.
See, here's the problem. I don't think they will, and let me explain why. Iran loves running proxy wars. They love having that degree of separation, all right? That's like, they just love it. And they know that it's a really bad look for them to have one of their guys, their ambassador, get blown up by a pager, either because it was his pager or he's sitting on top of a dude that's a terrorist that has a pager, right? One of the two. And so I'm sure they're not happy. I don't think that they're going to act like offensively directly. They're always going to act indirectly. So there's that 1 degree of separation. That's what they're good at, is these proxy wars. What I do think they really, Ethan, are concerned about now is Israel justified in attacking any military targets, et cetera, in Iran directly now because of this? I think the answer is yes. Now, the question also becomes, if you're Israel, do we want to directly attack Iran right now and be fighting this war maybe on 3 fronts? That's a completely different scenario. You get what I mean? Like, Iran may be protected in a sense because they don't want to be spread. Israel doesn't want to be spread too thin. It's not like America's going to jump into a war with them either, with military and troops. I think it's pretty clear we're not doing that.
Well, at least until hopefully Donald Trump makes it in.
Well, but I don't even think Donald Trump wants to get in a war. I think he might say, hey, here's a bunch of Reaper drones and let's go to town. But I don't think he's putting troops on the ground in Israel to go fight side by side. I don't see that being, he wants to get out of wars, not bring them up. Like, that's kind of his MO. But do I think he'll give Israel everything they need to protect and defend themselves and finish the job? Yes. Do I think he'll give them the resource they need, just like we had amazing resources to get rid of ISIS when he was president? That, absolutely. I think there's a very good chance that may happen. Ethan, God bless you, and I appreciate the phone call. 877-381-3811. Ben Ferguson filling in for Mark Levin. You can send me your comments, by the way, on X, Ben Ferguson Show. On Instagram, Ben Ferguson Podcast. And grab my podcast. I do it every day. More coming up right after this.
Mark Levin.
The cracks in our economy are widening by the day. We've got a labor market that's cooling faster than expected. Unemployment jumped to the highest since the end of 2021. The market could be in free fall any day as investors panic over a potential recession. Now, some bank stocks are getting hammered as fears of a downturn grow. Even the Fed is talking about rate cuts to prop things up. In uncertain times like these, you need a solid plan for your wealth. That's where gold comes in. It's been the ultimate safe haven for as long as we've used money. And when it comes to gold, I trust Advantage Gold. They're a top-rated American gold company and can help you protect your hard-earned money. Call Advantage Gold now at 800-900-8000 for a free gold investment kit and to see if you qualify for $1,000 in free silver. Don't wait. Call 800-900-8000 today. That's 800-900-8000. Tell them Mark Levin sent you. That's 800-900-8000. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional.
Welcome back. It is the Mark Levin Show. Ben Ferguson filling in for the great one. Yes, I'm grinning from ear to ear. Yes, I'm going to enjoy every single moment of this. The good guys winning, blowing up terrorists using their pagers, and then the very next day, Hezbollah handheld radios exploding across Lebanon just one day after the pagers detonated. Another kick in the pants to Hezbollah, and it's just a great story. 1-877-381-3811. Ben Ferguson filling in for Mark. He had surgery yesterday. Hopefully he's going to be back with you tomorrow. The surgery was successful. That's the best news. And hopefully he'll be back with you tomorrow. All right, let me get to some of your phone calls. The number 877-381-3811. And I know it's hard to get through sometimes, so if you want to send me your comments and I read them all during the breaks, you can do it on X, Ben Ferguson Show, and on Instagram. You can follow me, Ben Ferguson Podcast. Let me go to Steve on line 2. Welcome. You're on the Mark Levin Show. Ben Ferguson with you. Hi.
Hey, Ben, you're doing it.
Steve, you there?
The Mossad. Can you hear me?
Steve, do me a favor. Hold on. I'm not going to cut you off, but we're going to try to get a better connection with you. You've been waiting. I want to get back to you. In the meantime, I'm going to go to Kathy. Welcome. You are on the Mark Levin Show. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well, ma'am. How are you?
I'm doing great. You had earlier made a comment that you hope that they'll make a way of the devices exploding and all. And
yes.
Actually, if you think about it, way back when, there was the TV show Laughing, and Lily Tomlin played a phone operator there. And she'd say, 1 ringy-dingy, 2 ringy-dingy. So I'm thinking, you've already got scenes of her saying 1 ringy-dingy, kaboom, 2 ringy-dingy, kaboom.
Yeah. I just laugh. Everybody, as we were joking, as like this was happening yesterday, I'm like, what was the text? What did it say? Right? Like, did it say like your 70 plus virgins on their way? Like what was the tweet or the text message that looked like it was coming from Hezbollah? And you look at it like there's part of me that hopes it was something like, Allah something. You know what I mean? Like, that would just be amazing. And I want to believe that just for my own fun. Because when the good guys win, it's okay to celebrate. It really is okay. Darren, line 5. Welcome. You're on the Mark Levin Show. Hello.
Hey, thank you, Ben. So I think it's really hilarious. All these memes are blowing up all over the place. There was one I saw that said, Hezbollah. You have to take out the ball and Bola. They have to rename themselves. I thought that was pretty priceless. But I thought we should also give credit to Alfred Gross, who was the inventor of the pager. And then on another note,
dude, can you imagine, by the way, if you're the dude that invented the pager and then down the road you find out that your technology helped blow up a bunch of terrorists at the same time? That is a great day. Like, that's a bonus structure that you didn't even know. Like, that's a next level that you didn't even know. You get my point?
Yeah, seriously.
Like, that's a great day. It's like, What'd you do with your life? I made pagers and I blew up a bunch of terrorists. Wait, what? Yeah, I blew up 3,000 of them simultaneously. And then, like, if you really want to make it funny, you're like the guy that made the walkie-talkie. He's like, hold on, I killed a bunch of them too. Don't forget about me. Ben Ferguson filling in for Mark Levin. We got a lot more to cover tonight. We'll be right back.
This segment of the podcast is exclusively sponsored by Pure Talk. Pure Talk offers great coverage and can save your family money on your wireless bill every single month. Go to puretalk.com to find the plan that's right for you. Thank you again for listening, and thank you so much for this sponsorship, Pure Talk.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hour 2, Mark Levin Show. Great to be with you. It's Ben Ferguson. I'll be filling in for him today. The good news is Mark had surgery yesterday. He is recovering. And if you want to send him a note, you can do it on X, Mark Levin Show on X, and let him know you're praying for him, thinking for him, and hopefully he will be back with you tomorrow as he is recovering right now. There is a story, by the way, that I got to get to, and it's a really important one that, like, no one is talking about right now. And I actually understand why, and you're going to understand why after I tell you the story. And that is Hillary Clinton did an exclusive one-on-one with Rachel Madcow on MSNBC. Hillary Clinton, during the course of this conversation, right, because she's out there encouraging all the radical Marxists, socialists, and communists to, go out there and take out Donald Trump, she's now calling for something else extremely radical. She's calling now for criminal charges and civil penalties against Americans engaged in spreading propaganda. Now, at first, when she said this, I actually liked the idea, and don't freak out. Let me explain why. Hillary Clinton would be in jail. Remember Benghazi? What did they say about Benghazi? They said that Benghazi was a spontaneous protest that came out of nowhere because of a online internet show, program, video that made people decide to go out and kill Americans that night, including the American ambassador. It was spontaneous from an internet online video. So if we do what Hillary Clinton says, she'd be in prison for that in theory. But let's say that one wasn't enough. I got another reason why Hillary Clinton, if we used her own standard now, which is her calling for criminal charges against Americans engaged, quote, in spreading propaganda. Let's talk about the Steele dossier. Hillary Clinton tried to overthrow the will of the people in the Democratic Party, which is a Marxist communist socialist party. I'll keep saying it because it's the truth. They're not Democrats anymore. And they tried to overthrow the will of the people because they didn't like the outcome of the 2016 election. So what did they use? They used a dossier that was created out of thin air, that was paid for and financed by Hillary Clinton's campaign. Literally Hillary Clinton paid for it, and the Democratic National Committee. And what they decided to do was to try to overthrow the will of the people, knowing that they were using propaganda. Something that they knew the entire time was a lie. The FBI, by the way, also knew it was a lie. In fact, they had classified the Steele dossier as user-generated and even offered $1 million if anything in the dossier could be corroborated by the author of the dossier, Steele. So again, if we use Hillary Clinton's new idea, she'd be in jail, and so would, I guess, everybody at the Democratic Party that was a part of it. But then you know the reality, which is you don't start putting your political enemies in prison if you're actually a free country. And you don't put people in prison for doing what she is describing, which is also a form of free speech, right? You're allowed to lie in a country. And if you aren't allowed to lie, now there's certain rules, right, that go along with it. And I'm not here to debate that part tonight. I want to be clear. I want to be clear. I'm talking about what she's doing. And what she's saying is, I want to decide what I classify is propaganda. And then if I decide that it's propaganda, then I want to put you in jail. That's what she's advocating for in this one-on-one interview. Listen to Hillary Clinton's words carefully, because this is what's coming if Kamala Harris wins.
Just as Mueller indicted a lot of Russians who were engaged in direct election interference and boosting Trump back in 2016. But I also think there are Americans who are engaged in this kind of propaganda. And whether they should be civilly or even in some cases criminally charged is something that would be a better deterrence because.
Wow. It would be a better deterrent? Like, did you notice how she described that? It would be a better deterrent? She's calling for criminal charges for anything that she deems to be propaganda, even if it's actually not propaganda. Hillary Clinton also not toning down the rhetoric after the second assassination attempt against Donald Trump. No, she's ratcheting it up. Dog whistling to the Democratic crazies out there, go kill Trump.
Americans need to understand that they have to take Trump both seriously and literally. He has said what he wants to do. He and his allies with Project 2025, his desire to be a dictator, at least on day one, all of that is in the public record.
You want to know why so many people are wanting Donald Trump dead? It's because even after the second assassination attempt, they're not toning it down. They're ratcheting it up, folks. Hillary Clinton is like, let's keep going. We got 50 days to try to kill this guy. I want to go on Rachel Maddow's show, and I want to tell people that Donald Trump is a dictator. And Americans, quote, need to understand that they have to take Trump both seriously and literally. And Trump's desire to be a dictator is in the public record, as she describes it. And why do you think they keep referring to him as Hitler? By the way, CNN, they got a taste of some medicine they didn't want to hear. And that was, you got a former FBI guy who they asked to come on after the second assassination attempt on Donald Trump. And what did he say? He said, these guys are politically motivated. And why do you think they're motivated? It's because of people like Hillary Clinton that are going out there telling you that Donald Trump is a threat to democracy, that Donald Trump, you are justified in wanting to take him out. This is dog whistling. Go kill him. And this FBI individual that went on CNN straight up said it. They're being inspired by the words that are being used.
What does the fact that he wanted to survive say to you?
It says that he's not... First, he's not suicidal, apparently. He wasn't going to take his own life if he was almost being captured. Clearly, we saw that he was captured without that. And it tells me that he's probably much more politically motivated. The last shooter in Pennsylvania, I don't want to say his name because I don't want to promote him in any way, but he was clearly a guy that was looking for the notoriety of taking that shot. I would think we're going to find that this guy's extremely politically motivated and that he probably was spurred on by much of the political diatribes that are going on these days, talking about Trump, equating him to Hitler and things like that. So I don't think this is the last we'll see of crazies out there trying to do this.
I don't think this is the last we'll see of crazies trying to do this. Well, why would they stop if Hillary Clinton's out there saying what she's saying? I mean, this is 48 hours. She did this interview less than 48 hours after the second Trump assassination attempt on his life. And Hillary Clinton's like, hey, I need to go out there and inspire these crazies.
Americans need to understand that they have to take Trump both seriously and literally. He has said what he wants to do. He and his allies with Project 2025, his desire to be a dictator, at least on day one, all of that is in the public record.
It's in the public record, folks. You want to know what happens when you say these lies for years since 2016? What happens is people start believing you. When you tell people every day that someone's Hitler, that someone's a threat to democracy, that someone is going to destroy this country, and you keep telling crazies this, they will take up arms. They will believe you. And if you go back to the most powerful people in the Democratic Communist Socialist movement, they've been saying it since 2016.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country, and maybe there will be.
People need to start taking to the streets. This is a dictator.
You know, there needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
Enemies of the state.
Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
Do something about your dad's immigration practices, you feckless.
When they go low, we kick.
How do you resist the temptation to run up and wring her neck?
The biggest terror threat in this country is white men, most of them radicalized right up to the right.
I thought he should have punched him in the face. I said, even if you lost, he insulted your wife.
Yes.
He came down the escalator and called Mexicans rapists and murderers. He said, well, what do you think I should have done? I said, I think you should have punched him in the face and then gotten out of the race. He would have been a hero.
I'd like to punch him in the face. I said if we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
Punch some people in the face!
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump, and that's a fact.
Look as his character is stabbed to death.
Where is John Wilkes Booth when you need him?
That's it right there. Pull it up.
I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
A Missouri state senator is under investigation by the Secret Service after saying she hopes President Trump is assassinated.
I will go and take Trump out tonight.
And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
And sadly, the domestic enemies to our voting system and our honoring our Constitution are right at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
They're not going to stop before Election Day in November, and they're not going to stop after Election Day. And that should be, everyone should take note of that on both levels, that this isn't, they're not going to let up, and they should not.
If you think we're rallying now, you ain't seen nothing yet.
I play that for you to remind you, this didn't just start today. This didn't start last week. This didn't start at the beginning of the year in 2024. This started back in 2016. The majority of what I played for you was when Trump was president the first time between 16 and 2020. I mean, the clips I was just playing you of Nancy Pelosi, her face still moved when she talked. That's how old they are. They did this, and they keep doing it. And they keep coming out, and they keep saying that, you know, well, he's a threat. Well, he's a threat. Well, he's a threat. White House Press Secretary Jean-Pierre, for goodness sakes. Okay, she at less than 48 hours, okay? Less than 48 hours. Less than 48 hours after the assassination attempt on Donald Trump, the second one, referred to Donald Trump as a threat to the United States of America. She doesn't do this on a whim. At the White House, you have meetings. You have meetings with the chief of staff. You have meetings with whoever the hell's running the White House, right? Whoever the shadow government is, with Kamala Harris, and you make decisions on what you're going to say. And Kamala Harris referred less than 48 hours after someone tried to kill Donald Trump, because I actually believe they think that's the only way they can beat him now. They gotta kill him. And White House Press Secretary Jean-Pierre, 48 hours after the second attack on Donald Trump's life, she referred to Donald Trump as a threat. A threat. I'm going to play that for you coming up next. Ben Ferguson filling in for the great one, Mark Levin. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
I'm going to let you in on a little wireless trick that can cut your cell phone bill in half every single month. Other major carriers want you to believe you need unlimited data so they can overcharge you. Here's the fact. Most of you are buying way more data than you'll ever need and you'll ever use. Pure Talk, my cell phone company, only charges you for data you actually want. Listen to this. For $25 a month, you can get unlimited talk, text, and 5 gigs of data plus mobile hotspot. Do you know what you can do with 5 gigs of data? You can browse the internet for 135 hours, stream 1,000 songs, or watch 10 hours of video. Folks, stop overpaying for wireless. Get 5G coverage with Pure Talk. Go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's puretalk.com/Levin. Switching is painless. It's easy. There's no contract, no activation fee. You can even keep your phone and your number. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin, puretalk.com/Levin, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month on top of all the other savings when you sign up with Pure Talk.
Welcome back. It is the Mark Levin Show. Ben Ferguson filling in for the great one. He had surgery yesterday, and he is recovering. Hopefully he's going to be back with you tomorrow. If you'd like to send him a note, you can on X, at Mark Levin Show on X. If you just joined us, Hillary Clinton coming out, still not toning down the rhetoric, going after Donald Trump in an interview less than 48 hours after someone else tried to kill Donald Trump's second assassination attempt. And she's ratcheting it up. And I'm just going to say what I think is honestly your motive. They're looking for more people to be inspired to go kill Donald Trump. I want you to listen to White House Press Secretary Jean-Pierre, in her own words, at the White House, 48 hours after the shooting attempt on Donald Trump's life. What did she refer to Donald Trump as? A threat.
2 days since somebody allegedly tried to kill Donald Trump again. And you're here at the podium in the White House briefing room calling him a threat. How many more assassination attempts on Donald Trump until the president and the vice president and you pick a different word to describe Trump other than threat? By the way,
Before you listen to what she says, I'm going to answer that question. When he's dead. That's clearly their intention here. I don't try to get along with these people anymore because they're not Democrats. They're Marxists and they're socialists. They're communists. They will kill you if they can. They will inspire people to kill you if they can. They will lock you up if they can. They will use the government to come after you if they can. They will raid your home if they can. They will arrest your friends and try to get your friends to turn on you if they can. They will try to put you in prison for longer than people that actually rape, murder, and kill people that are in this country illegally if they can. And if you don't believe me, let me give you the latest headline to back up that point. Majority of Democrats just voted in Washington, D.C. right now as I'm speaking. They voted against a bill to deport illegal immigrants convicted of sex crimes. I'm going to say it again. Happening as I'm doing this show right now. The majority of Dems just voted against a bill to deport illegal immigrants convicted of sex crimes in Washington, D.C. They don't care about you. They only care about votes and power. Do you understand it yet? Now, with that as in context, listen to the White House press secretary's response. In fact, you know what? I'm going to back it up. I want you to hear Peter's question real quick again, and then listen to her response.
2 days since somebody allegedly tried to kill Donald Trump again. And you're here at the podium in the White House briefing room calling him a threat. How many more assassination attempts on Donald Trump until the president and the vice president and you pick a different word to describe Trump other than threat?
Peter, if anything from this administration, I actually completely disagree with the premise of your question, the question that you're asking. It is also incredibly dangerous in the way that you're asking it, because American people are watching. And to say that from an administration who has consistently condemned political violence, from an administration where the president called the former president and was thankful, grateful that he was okay, from an administration who has called out January 6th, called out the attack of Paul Pelosi, called out and said we need to lower the temperature after the Butler incident, and now for you to make that kind of comment in your question, because your question involved a comment and a statement. And, it is, that is also incredibly dangerous.
That's dangerous? Screw you. They want him dead, folks. They're not going to stop until someone does it. That's what they're telling you. Believe them. Ben Ferguson filling in for Mark. We'll be right back.
I'm going to let you in on a little wireless trick that can cut your cell phone bill in half every single month. Other major carriers want you to believe you need unlimited data so they can overcharge you. Here's the fact. Most of you are buying way more data than you'll ever need and you'll ever use. Pure Talk, my cell phone company, only charges you for data you actually want. Listen to this. For $25 a month, you can get unlimited talk, text, and 5 gigs of data plus mobile hotspot. Do you know what you can do with 5 gigs of data? You can browse the internet for 135 hours, stream 1,000 songs, or watch 10 hours of video. Folks, stop overpaying for wireless. Get 5G coverage with Pure Talk. Go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's puretalk.com/Levin. Switching is painless. It's easy. There's no contract, no activation fee. You can even keep your phone and your number. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin, puretalk.com/Levin, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month on top of all the other savings when you sign up with Pure Talk.
Mark Levin, radio's hell-raising intellectual. Call now, 877-381-3811.
All right, welcome back. It is the Mark Levin Show. Ben Ferguson filling in for Mark. He had surgery yesterday. It did go well. He's recovering. That's the good news. Send your thoughts and well wishes to him on X at Mark Levin Show, and hopefully he will be back with you tomorrow. All right, so let me go to this story about how big the scumbags are in the Democratic Party when it comes to trying to protect you and your kids. 158 Democrats, as I'm recording this show, voted against a bill to deport illegal immigrants who commit sex crimes. Not that are accused, but are convicted of committing sex crimes. Representative Nancy Mace introduced the Violence Against Women by Illegal Aliens Act earlier this year. And more than 150 House Democrats voted against a bill that would deport illegal immigrants convicted of a sexual offense. Again, not accused, but actually convicted. So they got to go through the system of a sexual offense or conspiracy to commit such a crime. The Violence Against Women, I thought all feminists would love that name, by Illegal Aliens Act passed the House of Representatives along bipartisan lines. All present Republicans voted for the bill. No brainer. 51 Democratic lawmakers went with the Republicans. Thank the Lord. They're all up for re-election. Now you understand why they did it. The measure passed 266 to 158 with 158 members of the Democratic Party. These are scumbags who said, we care more about bringing in illegal immigrants than we do about the American people who are being raped by them. Because this bill dealt with the sexual abuse and assault and rape at the hands of illegal immigrants who are abusing people in this country. Among the Democrats, by the way, who voted for the bill were people in, you guessed it, many of them in border states where they had no choice but to go along with it. Two of the Democrats, by the way, who voted for this bill are seeking higher office. One of them is running for the Senate and another is running for governor. So they didn't want the political liability of being soft on convicted sex offenders who are illegal immigrants. In addition to deporting migrants convicted of sex crimes, the legislation would also deem illegal immigrants who admit to domestic violence or sex-related charges or are convicted of them to be inadmissible into the U.S., which makes sense. Why would you give citizenship to someone that has been convicted of sex crimes, right? Why would you give citizenship to an illegal immigrant who admits to domestic violence, beating the hell out of his kids or his wife or somebody else, or any sex-related charges? And 158 Democrats said, no, we want those people to stay as well. We want to give them the American dream. Yeah, we want to do it. That's what we want to do. It's part of a wider legislative push, quote unquote, by the House GOP to spotlight issues stemming from the border crisis, which has for months and months affected cities and states across the country, actually for years. Mace told Fox News Digital hours before the vote that she 100% anticipated that Democrats would come out voting against her bill, even though there was nothing in that bill that was controversial at all. Quote, if you vote against it, you're sexist against women, Mace declared. I mean, truly, because we're talking about illegals who are here, who are committing domestic violence, committing rape, committing murder on women and children. They've got to go. They shouldn't be allowed in our country, and they certainly shouldn't be given citizenship. Nothing I said there should be radical, right? Like, all that makes sense. Democrats have panned the bill as xenophobic, right? Quote unquote. Here we are again, debating another partisan bill that fearmongers about immigrants. No, we're talking about illegals that have been convicted of sex crimes, you idiot. Jay Appel, the Democrat, the Congressional Progressive Caucus chair from Washington State, said this during the debate on the bill. She said, instead of working together to fix the immigration system, well, this would be a step of working to fix it, right? If you're in this country, you're committing sex crimes, and you're an illegal immigrant, why would anybody want you to stay? I probably shouldn't be too surprised, she goes on to say. Scapegoating immigrants and attempting to weaponize the crime of domestic violence is appearing to be a time-honored tradition for Republicans. Again, read the damn bill. The bill clearly states if you're an illegal immigrant convicted of these heinous crimes, you shouldn't be able to stay in America. You should be deported, and you shouldn't be allowed ever back in or for citizenship. Democrats, no, we'll take them too. Despite the wider pushback, GOP efforts to highlight the border crisis have gotten some Democratic support. House Republicans, as you know, previously passed a bill to detain and deport migrants convicted of assaulting law enforcement. With the help of 54 Democrats, there were 148 lawmakers that voted against that measure. Yeah, Democrats. The GOP-backed Lake and Riley Act, named after an Augusta University nursing student who was allegedly killed by an illegal immigrant, netted support from 37 Democrats. But still, the overwhelming majority of Democrats saying no, we are here to support, advocate, and stand by the illegal immigrants who have been convicted of sex crimes. That is what they are now doing. This is why this election is so important. Because if they're willing to do this right before the election, like 50 days before an election where they're up for re-election, because everybody in the House is up for re-election, and this many Democrats are willing to say, screw you Americans, and no, we will not throw out people in this country. We just refuse to throw out anybody in this country that is an illegal immigrant that is sexually abused someone. Imagine what they're going to do right after the election. Right? I mean, seriously, imagine what they're going to do right after the election. Can you imagine? Can you imagine what they're going to say next? What they're going to do next? It's going to be god awful. It is going to be horrendous. You got two options here. You either save America or you hand it over to the communists, Marxists, the tyrants, the dictators, and you say, tell me how much money to give you every month. This is no different than living in a mob community where all commerce goes through the mob. Right? They walk in your store and they shake you down. That's what they're doing. You're not special if you're an American. That's what they're telling you. You're not special if you're an American. You're not different. In fact, we do more to protect the illegals, including the Democrats went into work today, just to put it into perspective with different words. They went into work today and they said, hey, what are we doing today? All right, the majority of us are going to vote to make sure that those who have been convicted of the most horrific sexual crimes against children and women in this country and men who are illegal immigrants are going to stay in this country, and we're not going to let them kick them out. Damn it. And then I guess they were like, all right, ready, set, break. And they go to the floor of the House. They're like, we're here to stand up for them. That's what we're doing. We are here to stand up for the rapists who've been convicted of raping children, and you are not going to let them ever leave this country. We are going to make sure they stay in America. That's what we're going to do now. Because that apparently is who we are. It's what we are. It's what we stand for. We don't stand for you, the American people who, by the way, voted us into office. No, we're importing 20 million illegal immigrants, and we're going to make sure that those 20 million illegal immigrants have every privilege that you have in this country and everything that you paid for and everything that we built, and we're going to hand it to them, including the ones that are raping you and killing you. They don't care about you. They don't care about you. They don't care about, I would argue, this country, because if they did, today would have been a vote where every single person, because this shouldn't have been a vote that's Republican or Democrat, okay? This shouldn't have been a vote that's liberal or conservative. This should have been a vote that says we stand up for the victims of sex crimes and we make sure that the people that are here that are hurting them are never allowed back into this country, the ones that are here that shouldn't have been here in the first place. That is what should have happened, and it shouldn't have been controversial. I shouldn't be having to have this conversation right now even about it. Yet, here we are, because of 158 anti-American Democrats in the House of Representatives that voted against a bill to deport the illegal immigrants who are raping people in America and have been convicted of it. Those who have committed sex crimes that have been convicted of it, not accused, but convicted. That's what this is. That is the Democratic Party. That is what they are. That is what they are going to do on steroids if we allow them to control our government in 50 days in this election coming up. 1-877-381-3811. Ben Ferguson filling in for the great one, Mark Levin. You can follow me during the break. If you're on Instagram, Ben Ferguson Podcast. Follow me. I'd love to keep up with you. On X, Ben Ferguson Show. And grab my podcast I do every day, the Ben Ferguson Podcast. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
I'm going to let you in on a little wireless trick that can cut your cell phone bill in half every single month. Other major carriers want you to believe you need unlimited data so they can overcharge you. Here's the fact. Most of you are buying way more data than you'll ever need and you'll ever use. Pure Talk, my cell phone company, only charges you for data you actually want. Listen to this. For $25 a month, you can get unlimited talk, text, and 5 gigs of data plus mobile hotspot. Do you know what you can do with 5 gigs of data? You can browse the internet for 135 hours, stream 1,000 songs, or watch 10 hours of video. Folks, stop overpaying for wireless. Get 5G coverage with Pure Talk. Go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's puretalk.com/Levin. Switching is painless. It's easy. There's no contract, no activation fee. You can even keep your phone and your number. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin, puretalk.com/Levin, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month on top of all the other savings when you sign up with Pure Talk.
All right, welcome back. It is the Mark Levin Show. Ben Ferguson with you. Mark had his surgery yesterday. It went well, and he is recovering. And he will, Lord willing, be back with you mañana. All right, I want to get some of your phone calls. The number, 1-877-381-3811. 1-877-381-3811. Let me go to Duncan. Welcome. You are on the Mark Levin Show. Ben Ferguson with you. Hi.
Hi, thank you. Ben, we're both the same age. You've been in radio since I think you were about 10. I'm a Democrat. At about 21, I was serving in the Marine Corps overseas fighting in the First Iraq War. So I would like you to tell me that I'm a communist, Marxist, socialist.
I can't because I don't know what you believe in.
Oh, I believe in a lot of what the Biden and Harris administration have as far as policies, both economically and domestically. So just know I'm a Harris voter. So I would like you to make the connection and leap from that and my past to call me a communist, a socialist, or a Marxist, because I'm pretty sure I put on the uniform, I lost friends while you were behind a microphone. Yeah, you're going to get on this.
So all right. So I now I know where you're coming from. All right. So that's why I was listening carefully. So let me respond first off. I don't know what you believe in. I know what Kamala Harris believes in. I know what these Democrats believe in, which is why I can say that they are Marxist, socialist, communists. Like Bernie Sanders says, yes, I'm a socialist. So it's not name calling. I'm just being honest about what he is. Number two, just because you wore a uniform, Duncan, doesn't mean that you're better than anyone else. It also doesn't mean that you're worse than anyone else either. But this idea that you call up and you're like, you tell me while I was wearing a uniform that, da-da-da-da. Again, Duncan, I'm not judging you because I don't know what you actually believe in. I can't say, because this is the difference between, I think, liberals and conservatives. I judge someone based on what they say they believe specifically. When I say the Democratic Party is dead in the leadership, it's based on what I see. For example, Hillary Clinton, and then I play for you what she said today, that she wants to lock people up if they say things that she believes is, quote, propaganda. Well, that is a socialist, Marxist, and a communist idea, because all of them around the world that have that form of government would say the same thing. And then they do it. They lock up people that they disagree with what they say, and they say that it is propaganda against the state. And then you go to prison. If you don't believe me, there's a lot of people you can ask in countries like Venezuela, or, for example, countries like Afghanistan or Iran or Russia, right? All over the world. You can go back in history. Mandela is a great example of that, right? They didn't like what he said. They didn't like what he believed, and they said it was propaganda, and they put him in prison. So I'm not going to say that, Duncan, you're a Marxist or a socialist just because you're a Democrat. I said the leadership of the Democratic Party is dead. Like, the Democratic Party is dead. They are masquerading. Their leaders are masquerading as Marxists, socialists, and communists. Now, there's a lot of them that at their convention came out and actually said things that are directly tied to Marxism and socialism. And they're proud of it. Like, I actually like the squad, Duncan. I have more respect for AOC, Ilham Omar, Rashid Tlaib, because they actually don't lie about what they believe in. I have a lot of respect for Bernie Sanders, because Bernie Sanders doesn't lie to you. He's like, I'm a socialist. And I say, believe them. When they tell you they're a socialist, when they say they're a Marxist, like, just believe them. I have respect for people that don't lie. But I don't think that because you're a veteran that means you're better than me, or that you're somehow more significant than me. And if you join the military to use as a trump card on other Americans, then I don't think you understood what you were signing up for, Duncan, to be honest with you. I love people that serve this country. I don't love people that think they're better than other people because they serve their country. Like, that's not what serving is all about. I also don't think that what I do is somehow less than what you or any other person decided to do. Like, I don't think you're better than teachers. I don't think you're better than first responders. I don't think you're better than a policeman. I don't think you're better than someone that does crime scene investigations. I also don't think you're worse than them. I judge people based on their character and their content, not based on their resume of their job. Ben Ferguson filling in for the great one. We'll be right back.
He's here. Now, broadcasting broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
So we're about 50 days out from Election Day, and there are now data points that mean something. And it's going to be what I refer to as the crystal ball in politics. By the way, welcome, Hour 3, Mark Levin Show. Ben Ferguson filling in for the great one. He had surgery yesterday. He is doing well. Send him a note on X, at Mark Levin Show. Give him well wishes, and hopefully he's going to be back with you tomorrow. I'm ready for Mark to be back because Lord knows America needs him, especially this close to an election. So I know many of you are rooting for him, but send him a note. It means a lot when you do it. We see him. A lot of people think that we don't read our messages. We really do. It's always nice to hear encouraging words from people. And my favorite tweets or X, whatever you want to call them, and notes on Instagram and on Facebook are when people say, hey, we just want you to know thank you for what you do. We're listening and thank you. Because we work really hard. And Mark is just insane how hard he works and prepares for his show, for Life, Liberty, and Levin. And when you've been doing it for decades, it's nice to be reminded. So send him a note and just tell him thank you for what he does. I think it would mean a lot. You can do it at Mark Levin Show, at Mark Levin Show. Now, back to this point I want to make about data points. When you're this close to Election Day, there are data points, there are moments, there are things that I actually think are significant. And one of them happened today, and I think it's extremely significant. The Teamsters have announced they will not endorse any candidate for president after poll of union workers show overwhelming support for Donald Trump. Now, if they were doing what they're supposed to do, they would actually endorse Donald Trump, but they're not going to do that. And the reason why they're not going to do that is because the unions in general, the leadership, they hate conservatives. And that's why I think they're not doing it. Now, the Teamster president, O'Brien, on the decision not to endorse, he said this on Fox News Channel tonight. Listen.
I've been looking forward to this interview for some time, especially given the last-minute drama. I'm talking about a chat with Sean O'Brien. He is the Teamsters General President. We've talked to him many times over the years, and he speaks his mind. That's why I'm a little surprised by this news today that the Teamsters will not be officially endorsing a presidential candidate. So I thought to myself, Neil, when you talk to Sean, ask him how a guy who was invited to speak before Republicans at their convention but didn't get the same honor at the Democratic convention could decide not to support the Republican nominee. And here he is, Sean O'Brien. Good to have you, Sean. Why not? Why not Donald Trump?
How are you, sir? Well,
Very
listen,
good.
we interviewed both candidates, and we were seeking commitments from both candidates, and we couldn't get solid commitments on our core issues like the PRO Act, like veto and national right to work, like staying out of labor disputes and not trying to force any contracts on us, like what happened to our brothers and sisters in the rail industry. We didn't get solid commitments from either candidate, which was a major factor in our decision as a General Executive Board not to endorse any candidate. However, we did a lot of polling, as you know, and the polling leaned heavily towards former President Trump. So that tells you that
very heavily, Sean. And I'm just wondering, do you look disconnected from your members?
No, we're definitely not disconnected from our members because, look, we did extensive polling that was important. Our goal as leaders, as union leaders, as leader of the Teamsters, is to provide the ability for people to have a voice and to provide credible information. And we cannot dictate to our members. Our members are sophisticated. They're going to make their own decisions. But this is a bigger problem. You know, the Democrats have always taken for granted that they're going to get our vote no matter what. And the Republicans are fancying themselves as the working people's party. I think right now both sides have to take a step back and really reevaluate what their commitment is to working people. And that's what we did in this process.
Translation. I hate Donald Trump. And the leaders of the Teamsters, there's no way in hell we're going to give Trump an endorsement, even though overwhelming the members say we want Donald Trump, which this shows you why I hate many times unions, because the union bosses are hardcore lefties. And even when their members speak up, if it's for the wrong candidate, they're like, oh, screw it. We're not going to do anything with it. We're just not going to do anything with it. We refuse. This is why I say over and over again that if you're a member of a union, you better make sure you're in charge, because you're probably not. Right? You're just not. Fox News, the Teamster president citing polling in non-endorsement statement despite 58% of support for Trump. Listen to this earlier from Fox.
So here's the statement, and I just want to remind everybody, I mean, we saw a lot of speeches at the Republican National Convention, and there was a speech also at the DNC, but the crowd responded very strongly when the Teamsters president, Sean O'Brien, spoke. Because it was a big deal to see a Teamsters president speaking in Milwaukee at the Republican National Convention. And he was, he went on for a really long time, if I remember correctly. But he was, warmly received. And I think that because there were a lot of members and a lot of people who are sensitive to the needs of members who were in that audience. But here's part of the statement from the Teamsters Union, Sean O'Brien, president. After reviewing 6 months of nationwide member polling and wrapping up nearly a year of rank and file roundtable interviews with all major candidates for the presidency, the union was left with few commitments on top Teamster issues from either former President Trump or Vice President Harris, and found no definitive support among members for either party's nominee. Now, he spoke to Vice President Harris on Monday, I believe, but let's put that poll up again that shows what the members said in their research poll.
Incredible.
Harris, 31. Trump 58. And as I said, one was a phone poll, one was an online poll, I believe, electronic, I think is what they called it. And that one was it was about the same. 34 for Harris, 59.6 for Trump. So, David, explain to me how he can say that on Teamsters issues, they found no definitive support among members for either party's nominee, given that poll.
It's just not true. You can't say, look, let's say the obvious. They are strange bedfellows, Republicans and union leaders.
Yes.
Very strange bedfellows. It's no coincidence it's been so long since the Teamsters endorsed a Republican. So they are. In fact, we just had Sean O'Brien threaten to take one of the members of the U.S. Senate out in the back and get into fisticuffs with them. Remember that? When there was, I can't remember the senator, but at any rate, they had a Republican senator, and Sean O'Brien said in a Senate hearing that they were going to go out and fight in the backyard. I mean, they have a lot of fences to mend before they come out openly and endorse a Republican candidate for the president. However, you saw the numbers of the members. It is disingenuous at best for Sean O'Brien to say that he's following those numbers and not endorsing anybody, because the members endorse Trump.
Agreed.
This, again, goes back to why this is such a significant data point. You have these Teamsters, their members, who are supposed to be represented by the president of the Teamsters, and the president of the Teamsters just gave them middle fingers like, screw 60% of you guys, 58%. Because you picked the wrong candidate. You had to pick Harris, you didn't, so now we're going to endorse no one. I actually think this helps Donald Trump more, because those members are going to be angry, and this is how you have revolutions within member groups and union groups, is when there's such a clear and obvious moment where you're supposed to listen to the people of your group and you don't, and then the group realizes that basically I am nothing but a pawn for these guys, and there should be hell to pay politically for the Teamsters president, number one. Number two, this is a data point here that I think is a really important data point, that is a moment where you say, hey, is there a really good chance that Donald Trump can win this election? And I think the answer is yes. This thing's been changing a lot. 2 weeks ago, I would have said I think it was extremely tight, and there was a very good chance Kamala Harris could be president. I'm not saying Trump's for sure going to win this thing, because anyone that tells you that right now, they'd be lying to you. There's too many days left. There's too many X factors. There's too many things that the Democrats can do. And remember, they have state-sponsored media, all the media organizations, in essence, who are giving millions and millions and millions of dollars of in-kind donations to Kamala Harris every single day. That is still very hard to overcome. But what I will tell you is this is a data point where hardcore voters, usually these Teamsters, vote for Democrats. They're saying no more, and they like Trump. And that can tell you a lot about the mindset of many voters who may be underrepresented in the polling. I'll give you another example of how things have changed. Unions are now shelling out a $100 stipend to their members. They've just been exposed for attending Dem lawmakers' campaign rally, a new report states. The Secretary-Treasurer encouraged members to wear union colors to the event. Members of the Pennsylvania Labor Union were reportedly offered a $100 stipend to attend a Democratic lawmaker's recent campaign rally, according to a leaked text message obtained by the Washington Free Beacon. According to the news outlet, the local chapter of the International Union of Bricklayers and Allied Craft Workers encouraged their members to show up and voice their support for United States Representative Susan Wild, a Democrat who is facing off against a Pennsylvania state representative by the name of Ryan McKenzie, a Republican, in the upcoming election. On September the 7th, Wild held a campaign rally in Allentown, Pennsylvania. In a post on X, Wild thanked the union members for coming out to the event. She shared photographs of herself with some of those individuals. The lawmaker wrote, quote, "What a great day to kick off the morning. Thank you," all caps, "to all the labor leaders, union members, and volunteers who showed up today to talk about the stakes for working people in the election." And then went to knock some doors, exclamation point. "You have my back and I will always," all caps, "have yours." Well, that's not the case. It's all fraud. It's all fake. It's like the number of people showing up to Harris rally that are all being bussed in. A leaked text message provided the Free Beacon revealed that Randy Eberle, the Secretary-Treasurer of the union's local chapter, had offered incentives to the members turning up to the Wild's campaign rally because they desperately needed butts in the seats. A message written by Eberle read, "Gentlemen, on Saturday, September the 7th at 10 a.m., there will be a labor rally / canvas launch for Susan Wild. Wear your union colors and there will be a $100 stipend for those that would like to participate." The Free Beacon noted that it's unclear whether Wild was aware that a stipend was offered to the union members. I'm sure they were. Neither a campaign nor the union responded to requests for comment, right? Because why would they? Last year, by the way, Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee identified Wild as a, quote, vulnerable seat for potential defeat. Now, that's two data points that I think should be very encouraging. I'm not saying be cocky. I'm not saying be overconfident, okay? I want to make that very clear. But I do think they are moments that are significant, telling you about where we are in this landscape. And these are the types of moments that are significant for a candidate. I also think you got to look at the rallies for Kamala Harris. These rallies that she's having, it's like tour bus after tour bus after tour bus that's stacked up. And I'm sure those people are getting what you would refer to as a stipend, right? To fill the room, to put butts in the seat. And you got to fill that room, right? You fill it up so it looks like she's popular. I don't believe Kamala Harris is popular. I think she's more popular than she was when she ran for president the first time. I'll be the first to admit that. I think she's more popular now as a candidate than she's ever been as the actual vice president. I think there's a lot that the media has done to really help advocate and support and protect her because they desperately needed her to take over for Joe Biden. But to be clear, I don't believe for a second she's popular. I don't believe for a second that there are people just sitting there that cannot wait to run to go vote for her. And I think these Teamsters and the union headlines and the stories I just told you are proof of it. It's a data point, and it is important. 1-877-381-3811. 381-3811. Ben Ferguson filling in for the great one, Mark Levin. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Welcome back. It is the Mark Levin Show. Ben Ferguson filling in for the great one. He had his surgery yesterday, and it went well, and hopefully is going to be back with you tomorrow as he's recovering today. That is the good news. Make sure you send him a note on X at Mark Levin Show. One of you just said a moment ago, Ben, I think you're being shadow banned again. You can't find it. He says, I can't find you on Insta. Mr. Producer, would that surprise you at all? Like, no. No, not at all. If you want to say, I don't know. I can't test it out and see if I can find myself, but you can try it at Ben Ferguson Podcast on Instagram. I wouldn't be surprised. Like, that seems about right. Donald Trump deciding he's going on offense. Oh, I love this. This is why I love Donald Trump. He's having a rally right now in New York, and he just decided, I'm going to go on offense. And he said, I'm going to go visit 2 different cities. Watch me, media. Listen to this.
I'm going to Springfield and I'm going to Aurora. You may never see me again, but that's okay. Got to do what I got to do. Whatever happened to Trump? Well, he never got out of Springfield. I'm leading in Ohio by like 15 points, a lot. And we're going to take care of Ohio, and we're going to take care of Colorado, and we're going to take care of every single state in the union. They're all under siege. A lot of people don't talk about. But think of this. So the mayor of Springfield, and I think he's a very nice person, but instead of saying we're getting them all out.
I love this. This is offense, folks. This is what you do. He's like, I'm going to go to Springfield because I'm going to expose exactly what's happening there, which the mainstream media says is not happening there. I'm going to go to Aurora, Colorado, and I'm going to expose exactly what's happening there because the media says it's not happening. Oh, no, we're not overrunning like hotels with gangs. No, we're not being overrun by illegal immigrants or committing crimes. No. Right, we're not, that's not happening here. He's lying. They're not eating dogs and cats or anything like that. No, we're not doing that. That's never happened, really? Okay, let's play the 911 tapes. Oh, wait, it is happening. Well, we can't confirm it. Can you deny it? Because the citizens are saying it's actually happening. So I'm just curious, which one is it? He's going on offense. It's exactly what you should do. Now, there's other, eggheads in the political community like, why are you wasting your time in Ohio? You're going to win Ohio. You shouldn't be there. Because these issues matter. In the larger context of what this election is about, the 158 Democrats have voted against a bill to deport illegal immigrants who have been convicted of committing sex crimes. It matters. We got a country to save, folks. Donald Trump's trying to do it. Get on board or get the hell out of the way. Ben Ferguson filling in for the great one. We'll be right back.
The Mark Levin Show, the pool feed for the conservative media. Dive in now. 877-381-3811.
All right, welcome back. It is the Mark Levin Show. Ben Ferguson filling in for the great one, Mark. He will be back with you tomorrow. We had surgery yesterday. It went well. Send him your thoughts, well wishes on X at Mark Levin Show. All right, I want to get back to some of your phone calls. The number one, 877-381-3811. Let me go to Josh in Webster. I think it's Colorado. Welcome. You are on the Mark Levin Show. Ben Ferguson with you. Hi.
Yes. Hi, Mr. Ferguson. Such a joy to be able to talk with you. And first of all, just wanted to say thank you for all you do and express to Mark, if you're listening, I'm praying for you on your recovery. And,
amen.
Earlier there was a call. I believe his name was Duncan. And to him, if he's listening, I wanted to say thank you for your service. I'm a 21-year combat vet, and unlike Tampon Tim, Stolen Valor, AWOLs. You got to love that.
Yeah.
I actually carried multiple weapons of war. And so you mentioned, Ben, about these data points, and I think you're spot on. You know, the fact that President Trump is taking the stance of offense, and I'd like to offer another one, if that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yesterday, Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders hosted a town hall, and this was something that happened during that town hall with President Trump in Flint, Michigan. He expressed what I perceive to be a sincere heart of gratitude to Biden and Harris, and the fact that they had called him. Now, that takes an incredible amount of courage, and there were boos in the crowd, and he toned that down and said, no, that was very kind of them, a very kind gesture. It takes a lot of courage to be able to do that, because both he and us, we all know that that's fake. We marry that up with the disparity between the rhetoric from the past 10 years towards him, the brainwashing of the mainstream media, and I really do think that they have a significant amount of blame in all this, as well as that clip that you shared earlier, and thank you, Ben. I appreciate you sharing that, because people need to understand what's really going on here, okay? He knows it. I think that what he's doing is very admirable. I support him wholeheartedly as a veteran. I'm a veteran for Trump.
You mentioned that, by the way, Josh, the montage I played earlier. I had another one loaded up. I didn't get to it. I want to use it now. Hold on. Listen to this. This is another example of the media and how we got to the point where it's like, hey, just kill Donald Trump, like, as soon as you can.
What would a second Donald Trump term look like?
Well, he cannot be the next president. Because if he is...
You can't imagine the things that he's going to do. Mexico, Canada. We can't go to Canada because eventually Canada will become annexed to America.
And shoot visitors to the White House. Yeah. That means he can shoot the First Lady.
We're going to see violence, the likes of which we didn't even see on January 6th.
Make it illegal to run against him, to throw his opponents in jail, to shut down the media.
He will make himself into the Fuhrer, and he will make everybody raise their hand and salute him.
Using martial law against the American people.
Terminate the Constitution.
To rewrite the Constitution.
Create mass internment camps.
Throw everyone into Gitmo.
Might be sent to jail, or their rights might be suppressed, especially minority groups in society.
You might have any number of things happen to you and your family.
Every one of us, our freedom, our liberty, none of us is safe.
It's going to have people around him executing against an enemy's list.
Assassinate generals.
Ordering troops to attack American citizens.
Trump's very well-armed and extremist base will try to kill people.
He's going to basically burn the house down.
He will unravel the institutions of our democracy.
Draw similarities between Mussolini and Hitler.
Adolf Hitler and Benito Mussolini.
Makes Donald Trump even more dangerous.
Wants to take away your vote.
Senate and the House are immediately going to be paralyzed.
People will begin in their minds to censor themselves. They might say, well, maybe I shouldn't say this.
It's the end of democracy.
I think that could be the end of our democracy.
But democracy is dead if Trump is reelected.
Cozy up to Putin that democracy will be at risk.
The absolute destruction of the Justice Department as we know it.
The Justice Department could be entirely transformed.
I am really concerned about that.
Every person who was associated with the attempted coup elevated in the administration.
If he's reelected, he will curb transgender rights.
And the rule of law.
Arrest political opponents. To persecute, not prosecute, but persecute his enemies.
Take a wrecking ball to the rule of law. He's going to make the law. Everyone else will have to follow.
A vote for Donald Trump may mean the last election that you ever get to vote in.
To go after the independent and free parts of American civic life.
He would tear down our institutions.
Urge the government
of employees.
Department by department effort to weaponize the powers of the government.
To use the military to quash protests.
Ridding the government of all democratic safeguards.
Junking American democracy as we have always known it.
That he would try to stay in office beyond a second term. That he would never leave office.
There's no question. Trump is reelected, he won't leave.
Donald Trump will never leave office voluntarily.
And what that means is that everybody who wants us to remain a republic has to put every other thing aside and work together urgently right now to stop that from happening.
You wonder why people are trying to kill the guy? This is why. They've been telling you reasons to kill him since 2016. And they've tried everything else they can try to get rid of him, and none of it's worked. The indictments, they started with impeachments, that didn't work. Then the indictments, then the trying to get his friends to turn on him and arresting them. The warfare that we've seen that has taken place. And so over and over again, they went to the extremes and it didn't work. And so now they're afraid he's going to win. And so I go back to you, Josh, like you hear that. It's like, and then you hear Hillary Clinton today, where she comes out today in this interview is like, well, he's a threat to democracy. Right? Republican strategists, even on this was on CNN as well today. Listen.
Just as a representative of the corporate media here, can I just ask a question? Do you really think Governor Huckabee Sanders made that comment thinking that we wouldn't cover it the next day?
You know, I heard the comment and I listened to it because it was pointed out. Yeah. I think what came before that was a woman talking about wanting to fight for her family and fight for her children and trying to stay humble. And there was a transition there when she then went and talked about...
You really don't think she was trying to point out that Kamala Harris, Vice President Harris, doesn't have biological children?
I don't think that that's how people think. I don't. And I didn't hear that until it was told to me that this is how we're going to discuss it, which, of course, I've seen on TV all day. But what she followed it up with was the failed policies of the Biden-Harris administration, which I think Sarah points out really well. She is running from, and almost successfully.
And nobody's taking issue with that part of her remarks. Sarah, is the corporate media, are we being unfair here?
No, and I think that part of it, so first of all, I don't know how you can interpret her comments any other way. But more importantly than that, it's not two comments. J.D. Vance has been going on every weird bro podcast to make sure to talk about not just childless cat ladies, that's almost the funny part, but also that women in abusive relationships should stay in those relationships. The way that they defend people like Laura Loomer, who are talking about how if Kamala Harris is in the White House, it's going to smell like curry. This has become the way that they are currently terrorizing the people of Springfield with their racist smear about eating dogs and cats. Like, this is the most vicious, despicable, lie-filled campaign I have ever seen. And that is comparing it to what was a pretty significantly indecent campaign that Donald Trump ran in 16 and 20.
Hold that.
There you go. So go kill him, America. Right? This strategist calls Trump the most vicious, despicable, lie-filled campaign I've ever seen. Like, this is 2.5 days. 2.5 days after someone tried to kill him. And the White House press secretary, they're on board with this. Right? Karine Jean-Pierre again called Trump from the podium at the White House 48 hours after someone tried to kill him a threat. She was called out for it only by one person at Fox.
2 days since somebody allegedly tried to kill Donald Trump again. And you're here at the podium in the White House briefing room calling him a threat. How many more assassination attempts on Donald Trump until the president and the vice president and you pick a different word to describe Trump other than threat?
Peter, if anything from this administration, I actually completely disagree with the premise of your question, the question that you're asking. It is also incredibly dangerous in the...
Oh, it's dangerous to ask a question about you calling Donald Trump a threat? Your question is dangerous? And let's go back to the lie that they just told on CNN a second ago. They said that, how dare he disparage the people in Springfield, saying they're eating animals. Okay, we've obtained a police report dated from August 28th where a caller alleges that their cat was stolen and chopped up in Springfield, Ohio. By the way, you know how they were freaking out a couple of days ago, right? They were just freaking out over the fact that there were bomb threats coming in. to Springfield, and this was somehow all the fault. All the fault. This was all the fault of who? Donald Trump. Right? CNN went wall-to-wall coverage. Ana Navarro blamed Donald Trump and J.D. Vance for bomb threats in Springfield, despite the Ohio governor Mike DeWine now saying that every threat has been a hoax, many of which came from overseas. But CNN doesn't tell you that. And what is Ana Navarro, the hardcore liberal that spoke at the Democratic convention, they put on TV and they claim she's somehow a Republican who hates Trump more than I think anybody else I probably ever met in real life. I had to do TV with her, and gosh, she's awful. Listen to this.
With you. It's, I think we should all question the rhetoric. The problem is that Donald Trump, who I think, if you were doing hurricane categories, he's on hurricane category 5, whereas the other side might be a 2. And Donald Trump and J.D. Vance are not questioning their rhetoric. Right now, because of their rhetoric, because of what he said in that debate, there's been 33 bombing threats in Springfield, Ohio. That would not have happened but for this false conspiracy theory being spread by the vice presidential and presidential Republican candidate. And those Haitians in Springfield, Ohio, and those students and the people that are victims of these threats and everything that's going on there don't have 24/7 Secret Service, right? They're on their own.
I love this. CNN doesn't fact check her because this is a narrative for a reason for you to hate Trump and to just go kill him. And Ana Navarro blaming Donald Trump and not telling you, oh, by the way, the governor's come out and said it's crap. Every threat's been a hoax, many of which came from overseas, clearly in a coordinated effort, the same way that we saw across the country today, a lot of bomb threats that went into schools, public schools in America. I don't know if you know about that, but it's happening around the country today. Like, you look at these scumbags on TV, and Ana Navarro is a perfect example. She's not an idiot. Okay, I want to be clear. She's not an idiot. She knows what she's saying is propaganda, state media propaganda. She hates Donald Trump. She's made herself relevant by hating Trump since 2016. She was irrelevant before hating Trump, and she went and sold her soul to the state-sponsored media. She sold her soul to the political media devil. And she said, use me. I will claim I'm a Republican, throw me on TV, make me famous, put me on The View, put me on CNN. I will sell my soul to you. Tell me what propaganda you want me to sell, and I'll do it. That is Ana Navarro's actual career. Summed up right there. No one would give a crap who Ana Navarro is. No one would listen to her if she was actually a conservative. She would never be a host of The View. She would never be on CNN the way she is now. She would never have been invited to speak at a convention, Republican or Democrat. She would never have ever been allowed on TV in a significant way, except she said, I'm going to sell my soul to you. I will sell my soul to you, and now you'll put me on TV, and that's who I will be. Ben Ferguson filling in for the great one, Mark Levin. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Welcome back. It is the Mark Levin Show. Ben Ferguson filling in for Mark. He will be back with you manana. And I want to say, first of all, it's always an honor and a privilege to fill in for Mark. I love to keep up with you guys, so make sure you follow me if you're on X, Ben Ferguson Show, at Ben Ferguson Show, on Instagram, Ben Ferguson Podcast, and grab my podcast if you don't mind, the Ben Ferguson Podcast. I do it every day. All right. I want to go back to something that, by the way, I said. How much time do I have, Mr. Producer? All right. I'm going to play this real quick. I was asked a question on Piers Morgan's show, and I made the point about not having full protection for Donald Trump from the Secret Service. I want you to listen to what I said. It's something I want to play earlier. I'm going to play it real quick.
Look, I think two things here. One, when you talk about rhetoric, it's like victim shaming when people are like, well, and I saw this on TV even yesterday, on MSNBC, they're like, well, maybe Donald Trump shouldn't go out and play golf. Like maybe this is his fault that he did this. 2 days before that on MSNBC, they were referring to him yet again as Hitler. And so this victim shaming idea, it's like saying, well, she shouldn't have dressed so attractive and then maybe she wouldn't have been raped. It is insane. It is insane that we're even having the conversation, because law enforcement should not choose who they're going to protect based on if there's an R or D by their name. And so that.
I want to stand by that point. If you want to hear the rest of what I said, I just put it up there on X, Ben Ferguson show on X. But it's true. Pray for Donald Trump. He's not backing down. He's not stopping. And the left is wishing him ill will. Pray for him. Pray for Mark as well. He'll be back with you tomorrow. It's always a privilege to be with you guys. Have a great rest of your night.